Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is Who Was I? Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta-wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha-wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed, or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. Who Was I? Begins now. And when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. Who was I? The rain was falling hard on the city streets when Detective James Walker opened his eyes. He was lying in a hospital bed, and his head hurt terribly. A nurse was standing beside him, checking some machines. "You're awake," she said with a smile. "How do you feel?" James tried to remember what had happened, but his mind was completely empty. He couldn't remember anything, not even his own name. "Where am I?" he asked. "And who am I?" The nurse's smile disappeared. "You don't remember? You're Detective James Walker. You were in a car accident 3 days ago. The doctor said you might have some memory problems." James touched the bandage on his head. A detective? He didn't remember being a detective. He didn't remember anything at all. The next morning, a police officer named Captain Roberts came to visit him. "James, I'm glad you're okay," he said. "But we have a problem. Before your accident, you were working on an important case. A woman named Sarah Chen disappeared 5 days ago, and you were the lead detective. Her family is very worried." James shook his head. "I'm sorry, but I don't remember anything about this case. I don't even remember my own life." Captain Roberts put a leather notebook on the bed. "This is yours. You always carry it with you. Maybe it will help you remember something." After the captain left, James opened the notebook. It was filled with his own handwriting, notes about cases, phone numbers, and addresses. On the last written page, he found notes about Sarah Chen. Sarah Chen, 28 years old, software engineer. Last seen, Monday, 10 p.m., leaving her office. Her car found abandoned near the old warehouse district. No signs of struggle. Check the Blue Moon Cafe. She went there every Tuesday. James studied the notes carefully. Even though he couldn't remember writing them, he felt like he should follow these clues. Maybe finding Sarah would help him remember who he was. The next day, James left the hospital against the doctor's advice. He took a taxi to the Blue Moon Cafe. It was a small coffee shop with blue walls and soft jazz music playing. He showed Sarah's photo to the owner, an elderly man named Mr. Kim. "Oh, Sarah?" "Yes, she comes here every Tuesday," Mr. Kim said. She always sits at that table by the window and works on her laptop. But she didn't come this week. Did she ever meet anyone here? James asked. Mr. Kim thought for a moment. There was a man who sometimes joined her, tall, with gray hair. They seemed to know each other well. He hasn't been here this week either. James wrote this information in his notebook. A tall man with gray hair. It wasn't much, but it was something. He decided to visit Sarah's apartment next. Using the address from his notebook, he found a small building in a quiet neighborhood. The building manager, Mrs. Lopez, recognized him immediately. Detective Walker, you were here last week asking about Sarah. Have you found her yet? I'm still working on it, James said, not mentioning his memory loss. Can I look at her apartment again? Mrs. Lopez gave him the key. Of course. I hope you find her soon. She's such a nice girl. Sarah's apartment was neat and organized. James looked around, trying to find any clues. On her desk, he found a calendar. The Monday when she disappeared was circled in red, with the words "Important Meeting, 8 p.m." written on it. He also found a business card. Digital Security Solutions, Marcus Gray, CEO. The name seemed familiar somehow, but James couldn't remember why. In Sarah's bedroom, James discovered something strange. Hidden behind a picture frame was a USB drive. He put it in his pocket, planning to check it later. As he was leaving the apartment, James noticed something odd. There were fresh flowers in a vase on the kitchen table. If Sarah had been missing for 5 days, who had put fresh flowers there? He asked Mrs. Lopez about it. Oh, that must have been her boyfriend, she said. He has a key. Tall man with gray hair. He brings her flowers every week. Gray hair. James felt like this was important. He looked at the business card again. Marcus Gray. Could this be the man from the cafe? James took a taxi to the office of Digital Security Solutions. It was in a modern building downtown. The receptionist told him that Mr. Gray was in a meeting, but James insisted it was urgent police business. Marcus Gray was indeed a tall man with gray hair. He looked nervous when he saw James. Detective Walker, he said, I heard about your accident. I'm surprised to see you working. You know me? James asked. We met last week. You came to ask me about Sarah. I told you everything I know. She's one of our best employees, and I'm very worried about her. James studied the man's face. Something didn't feel right. You're her boyfriend, aren't you? Marcus looked surprised. How did you? Yes, we've been dating for 6 months, but we kept it secret because I'm her boss. It could cause problems at work. When did you last see her? Monday afternoon at the office. She left at 5, like always. I had no idea she was planning to come back that evening. James remembered the calendar note about the important meeting at 8 p.m. She had a meeting that night. Do you know anything about it? Marcus shook his head. No, she didn't tell me about any meeting. After leaving the office, James found a quiet place to check the USB drive from Sarah's apartment. It contained encrypted files that he couldn't open, but there was one text document that wasn't protected. It was a draft of an email. I've found evidence of what you're doing. Stealing company secrets and selling them is a crime. Meet me Monday at 8 p.m. at the old warehouse on Dock Street. Come alone, or I'll go to the police." James felt his heart beat faster. Sarah had discovered something illegal and tried to confront someone. But who? He took a taxi to the warehouse district. The area was mostly abandoned, with old buildings and empty lots. He found the warehouse on Dock Street, a large, rusty building with broken windows. Inside, the warehouse was dark and full of shadows. James used his phone's flashlight to look around. In the corner, he found signs of a struggle, scattered papers, and a broken chair. On the floor was a woman's earring. Suddenly, James heard footsteps behind him. He turned around to see Marcus Gray standing in the doorway. "I knew you would come here eventually," Marcus said. "Even with your memory gone, you're still a good detective." "You killed Sarah?" James asked. Marcus laughed bitterly. "Killed her? No, detective. I've been trying to find her, just like you. But I think I know who took her." "Who?" "My business partner, Robert Nash. Sarah discovered he was stealing our technology and selling it to competitors. She was going to expose him. I think he kidnapped her to keep her quiet." James remembered something, a flash of memory. He had met Robert Nash before his accident. The man had seemed nervous and suspicious. "We need to find Nash," James said. Marcus nodded. "I know where he might be. He has a cabin in the mountains, about an hour from here. If Sarah is still alive, she might be there." They drove to the mountains in Marcus's car. James called Captain Roberts to request backup, but they were too far from the city. They would have to handle this themselves. The cabin was hidden deep in the woods. It looked empty, but there was smoke coming from the chimney. James and Marcus approached carefully. Through the window, they could see Robert Nash sitting at a table, looking at some papers. But where was Sarah? James noticed a locked door at the back of the cabin. Could she be in there? They decided to act. James knocked on the front door while Marcus went around to the back. Nash opened the door, and his face went pale when he saw James. "Detective Walker, but I thought you were—" "You thought I was what?" James asked, pushing his way inside. Nash backed away. "Nothing. I just heard about your accident." "Where is Sarah Chen?" James demanded. "I don't know what you're talking about." Just then, they heard a muffled scream from behind the locked door. James rushed to it and kicked it open. Sarah was inside, tied to a chair but alive. Nash tried to run, but Marcus blocked his path. Soon, Nash was on the floor, with James holding him down. While Marcus untied Sarah, James called the police. His memory was still gone, but he had solved the case. Later, at the police station, Sarah told her story. She had discovered that Nash was stealing company secrets. When she confronted him at the warehouse, he had kidnapped her and taken her to the cabin. He had been planning to leave the country once he sold the last batch of stolen data. "Thank you for saving me," Sarah said to James. "I'm sorry about your accident. It must be hard, not remembering anything." Captain Roberts put his hand on James' shoulder. "The accident. James, there's something you should know. Nash caused your accident. He ran you off the road when you got too close to solving the case. You had already figured out he was the thief, but you didn't have enough evidence yet. James felt strange, so Nash had tried to kill him to stop the investigation. But even without his memories, he had still caught the criminal. A week later, James was back in the hospital for more tests. The doctor had good news. His memory might return eventually. Some people recovered fully from this type of amnesia. Sarah and Marcus visited him often. They told him stories about his past cases, trying to help him remember. Even though James couldn't recall these events, he enjoyed hearing about the person he used to be. One day, while looking through his old notebook again, James found a photo tucked between the pages. It showed him with a woman and a young boy, all smiling at the camera. On the back was written, James, Anna, and Tommy, summer 2019. He had a family. Somewhere out there, they were waiting for him to remember them. Captain Roberts helped him find them. Anna, his ex-wife, cried when she saw him. Tommy, his 8-year-old son, hugged him tightly. "I'm sorry," James said. "I don't remember you, but I want to try." Anna smiled through her tears. "We'll help you remember. And even if you don't, we can make new memories together." As James sat with his family, looking at photo albums and hearing stories about his life, he realized something important. He might have lost his memories, but he hadn't lost himself. He was still a detective who solved cases. He was still a father who would do anything to protect his family. He was still James Walker. The investigation into his own past would be his most challenging case yet. But for the first time since waking up in the hospital, James felt hopeful. He had found Sarah Chen, caught a criminal, and discovered his family. Maybe, piece by piece, he would find himself too. Months passed. James returned to work as a detective, with Captain Roberts helping him relearn procedures and protocols. His memory didn't return all at once, but small things started coming back. The smell of his favorite coffee, the way to tie a special knot, the feeling of solving a difficult case. One morning, while reviewing the Sarah Chen case file, James had a sudden flash of complete memory. He remembered everything about the investigation. How he had traced Nash's financial records, how he had suspected him of corporate espionage, and how Nash had tried to run him off the road that rainy night. But more importantly, he remembered why he became a detective in the first place. It wasn't for the excitement or the challenge. It was because he believed in justice and in helping people who couldn't help themselves. James smiled as he closed the case file. He might not remember everything about his past yet, but he knew who he was now. He was Detective James Walker, and he had work to do. The phone rang. Captain Roberts had a new case for him. A missing teenager who had disappeared from a shopping mall. James grabbed his notebook and headed out. As he walked through the police station, other officers greeted him warmly. They had all been patient and supportive during his recovery. He was lucky to have such good colleagues. Outside, the sun was shining. It was very different from that rainy night when he had woken up not knowing his own name. James took a deep breath and smiled. Every day brought new challenges and new opportunities to remember who he was. But even if his memory never fully returned, James knew one thing for certain. He was a detective, and a good one. That was enough to build a life on. The case of the missing teenager awaited him. As James got into his car, he felt the familiar excitement of starting a new investigation. Some things, he realized, you never really forget. They're written too deeply in your soul to ever truly disappear. Who was he? He was Detective James Walker. And that was exactly who he wanted to be.